So, back for another VGC guide, and this time we're looking at Sylveon. It always had Calm Mind, and it's still a very good user of Calm Mind, so this would be a perfectly reasonable set. This is a set that was all the way back in VGC 15 that was able to counter Amoonguss, because you would run Calm Mind on the lefty Sylveon, so you can bulk yourself out and just never be KO'd, but Substitute was a nice tech that allowed you to beat Amoonguss 1v1 with the Sylveon, because you could sub in front of the Spore, you Calm Mind so that the clear smog can't break your Substitute, so you can always just beat Amoonguss 1v1. So this is a very nice set that was used in previous generations, and I see no reason why it wouldn't be usable here as well. So I'm going to be using the same EV spread for all of my Sylveons here, because this defensive investment with the HP is able to survive an Adamant Terra Grounded, Choice Band Garchomp Earthquake. Like the strongest that Garchomp could possibly be against the Sylveon with its Choice Band, and it does not KO. It's a guaranteed survival with that much investment, and then you just dump the rest into special attack. You can lower it slightly and play a speed creep war with other Sylveons. A lot of them are just going 4 or 12, so I've just gone 20 here, but feel free to do a speed creep war with opposing Sylveons, especially because if you are running the Calm Mind one, you want to Calm Mind before they Hyper Voice. A lot of Sylveons are just going with Throat Spray, and that is entirely fine as well. Like, because you've already got Mace of Special Defense, you might as well get some damage while you're boosting your attack to +1 as well. That's perfectly fine as well, and probably maybe even slightly better. This was just a previous one from old generations that is still entirely viable, and I've always been mentioning Calm Mind at the start. So, yeah, basically, this is the most common one. You should always run Hyper Voice, like obvious reasons, because it's the best move, because of Pixelate. You should always, well, I say always, you should probably, almost certainly, be running a protecting move, whether that's Detect or Protect, doesn't particularly matter. And then these last two ones are basically filler. They are pick your favorites, basically. Terra Blast is brilliant. It's got amazing synergy with Sylveon, because obviously the Terra into water, and maybe fire. Fire is also good, but I prefer water, because then Garchomp can't just Earthquake KO you. Also, Terra Blast, I didn't think about it until it happened to me, that Terra Blast gets the Pixelate boost if you have not Terra'd. So it's stronger than Moonblast. There's no reason to run Moonblast anymore under Sylveon. I should be running Terra Blast instead. So, yeah, really, really nice synergy with Sylveon, the Terra Blast, because then obviously you get the coverage when you do Terra. You get a single target, very powerful, pixelated fairy attack with Terra Blast when you're not Terra'd. So it's really nice. I just like Helping Hand. Like that, this would probably be just my default if I were to default to a Throat Spray one, because then if you haven't Throat Sprayed, you're not doing as much damage. Helping Hand can help you do damage. Here are some suggestions in the middle two slots, so have Hyper Voice, have Protect, and then have either Terra Blast, Helping Hand, Hyper Beam, Quick Attack, Calm Mind, or Yawn. Those are all justifiable moves. Pick your favourites. Hyper Beam gets a KO. Almost certainly gets a KO, especially if you've Throat Sprayed already. It will just OHKO something. And that's brilliant. Even with the recharge turn, that might just steal you a game because that Pokemon is now KO'd when it shouldn't have been if you only had Hyper Voice. Quick Attack picks off Sash things and actually does respectable chip if you are Pixelate, because it Pixelate boosts the Quick Attack as well, gets it Fairy, so it's actually doing okay chip, and picks off the Sashes. So if it's like a Sash Meowscarada, then you Hyper Voice, bring Sash, and then Quick Attack picks them off. So that is very good as well. Calm Mind can be fit onto not a lefty set, for sure. It's probably not as strong because the lefties will give you recovery, but Calm Mind is perfectly fine as well. Yawn is a very good move as well on Sylveon. Even without the Dynamax, Yawn is still going to be very good to force some switches that will allow you a free turn to be able to go for a Throat Spray and get your Hyper Voice, get back up to +1. So Yawn is very good as well. So basically, always have Hyper Voice, like absolutely always have Hyper Voice. Almost certainly have a protecting move, and then pick your favourites out of those. Those are likely to be the best ones. You can also just go immediately with Choice Specs. Choice Specs would be able to do the immediate damage, so you don't need to have Throat Sprays to be able to get as strong a Hyper Voice as you would have got with a Throat Spray. You can just get that immediately. And then the downside, obviously, is that you are locked into that move and you can't switch up and do all the support that Sylveon is able to do as well. But the damage is really good. And then you can justify running Hyper Beam very easily on Choice Specs, because that does OHKO almost everything that doesn't resist. So Choice Specs Hyper Beam is very nice. You get the Terra Blast for the single target, and then whatever. Like that 4 slot is just whatever. I just picked that to hit Amoonguss. You can hit Amoonguss if you turn into a fire type as well. You should generally be fire or water on your Sylveon. Some are going with Fairy on Sylveon to get extra powerful Hyper Voices. I don't think that's particularly necessary, because you've got ways of boosting your Fairy type attack anyway, whether that's Calm Mind, whether that's Throat Spray. So I don't think you need the extra offense of the Fairy. I think defensively going into a water type or a fire type even without Terra Blast, would be better. And when you do have Terra Blast, then you definitely don't want Fairy, because then you want the extra coverage that Water or Fire would give you. Yeah, like it doesn't really matter which one you want. Water or Fire, definitely the two best ones. Like I said, Water is my preferred, because then you still resist Steel, and then you are able to take on Garchomp better, and you're supposed to be a Garchomp counter, because, you know, you're a Fairy. But Fire doesn't do that as well, because then they can Earthquake KO you. So, yeah, just whichever one you want, doesn't really matter. Water or Fire is entirely fine. I think I don't need to justify why this is an S tier Pokemon. It's got to be one of the best fairies in the game that we have at the moment, and since there are very good dragons, then a good fairy, or the best fairy, likely the best fairy, is going to be very good in the metagame as well. You don't even need to care about Goldengo as much with, like, the main Steel types, because of the Terra Water / the Terra Fire. And you can also Calm Mind in front of the Goldengos. And then as they make it rain, you get +1 to special defense, they get -1 special attack as you're resisting it, and then you just win the 1v1 even if you're not super effective, which is quite funny. But yeah, this is a brilliant Pokemon. I don't really think I need to say any more why.